Good morning. Good morning. I'm here to talk about change and transformation. For the past 15 years, I've been an executive coach working with leaders and executives, and there is no conversation about leadership that doesn't get down to change and transformation. In fact, one way to conceive of the most basic role of leaders is to predict and direct change. And we can't have a meaningful conversation about change, about transformation, without having a meaningful conversation about fear and anxiety. And so that's what I want to talk with you today. Change, transformation, fear, and anxiety. And transformation can come in many different forms. There's social transformation. I happened to live in South Africa in the 80s when apartheid was just falling apart. And I witnessed firsthand, I lived in a society as it was unfolding from a very old regime into a new reality, into a new set of beliefs, and watching what that happens and what that looks like on a very personal, social level. Change can be a commercial reality. 15 years ago, the word Google only meant 1 with 100 zeros. It's changed the way we do commerce, the way we buy, the way we sell, the way we search, the way we find, and it's certainly changed any kind of way that I win or lose an argument. It used to be on the merit of knowledge, now it's on the merit of band speed and speed. And change can be on a very personal level. I haven't always been a guy in a suit. We all have a story, we all have a background. But transformation means a significant change in appearance or character, whether that happens in a society, whether that happens in a business or a community, or whether that happens to an individual. There is lots to be discovered about transformation and change. Not a great dating look, by the way. That's changed. We need to look at it from a perspective of what can we do about it then. And I propose to you that there is a method, there is a system by which you can be effective when you go into this transformation territory. There are 3 elements that make up an effective movement. One is purpose, the other is practice, and the third is this idea of partners. And so let me elaborate on what I mean by that, and that's a framework for transformation, whether it's a business, whether it's a community, or whether it's your own personal journey. Purpose is what draws us forward. In the transformation process, we are going to have to fundamentally challenge our comfort zone. The comfort zone is that space within which we feel safe. We know the territory. We've figured it out. We've done it. We are at ease in the comfort zone. But you're going to have to overcome barriers. And for that, you need something that draws you forward. Purpose is something that is compelling, more compelling than the challenge, the energy, and the difficulty required to move through this transformation. If you saw a burning building on a typical day, you'd probably be wise to turn the other way and bolt. But if you had a loved one or pet inside that building, I'm willing to bet that most of us would make great efforts to go into that fire because the purpose is compelling, because we want to go forward, we want to go into it. To get out of the comfort zone, we have to be pulled, we have to be drawn, we have to be magnetized past the fences of it. And it's not easy, is it? It hurts at the physical level. It hurts at an emotional level. And it's important to be able to visualize what you want to do. I've worked as a hypnotherapist for years, and I have a very clear understanding of the power of the mind, both to compel us and to limit us. And so it's not enough to visualize. Visualization is great. I'm sure many of you are accustomed to visualization, to practicing in your mind, to affirmations. Those are powerful, but they're not sufficient. In addition to visualization, we have to act. You have to take action. You have to practice. Because vision without action, folks, is just hallucination. And we've got to move past that. The practice requires continuous effort, deliberate application, repetitive action so that we develop and so that we maintain and so that we learn how to live this new reality that we're pulling ourselves into, this new purpose. There is something quite powerful about repetitive action. We call it deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is the capacity to repeat something until you learn it. Think about anything that you've done that's meaningful. You've probably practiced, rehearsed, gotten feedback, challenged yourself, and moved forward. As a matter of fact, there's some terrific research by Martin Seligman and Dr. Angela Duckworth that talks about this repetitive, deliberate practice, and they call it grit. Grit is passion and perseverance towards an ongoing, long-term goal or objective. And grit is what's required to combine with purpose. I have purpose that pulls me forward. I have grit that keeps me going. Grit has been shown to be the most predictive characteristic of achievement. They studied West Point cadets, they studied spelling bee champions, they studied U.S. Special Forces, and what they found that more than talent, more than education, more than resources, the most predictive element of achievement is grit, the capacity to keep going. And that's part of the transformation process. What is the vision? How effective are you being in continuing to press into it and towards it? And then that's even not enough. We have to have this capacity for partnerships. Now, I grew up overseas. I came to the States to go to college. I studied in my undergraduate business and in graduate psychology. I was certified as a hypnotherapist. I was certified as a scuba diving instructor. But perhaps the most interesting transformation work has been in marriage. And 2 teen girls, which is a never-ending story about transformation. It's true that purpose drives us forward, and it's true that grit keeps us going, but it's not true that we have to do it all alone. There's a particular fascination in the United States culture with the mythology of the Lone Ranger. I do it alone. It's the Lone Ranger, it's John Wayne, it's all those characters that we are sort of immersed in that give us this idea that you have to do it alone. You have to be the man, or you have to be powerful, or you have to be the individual that drives it forward. Folks, I hate to break the news to you. Any meaningful transformation that you've engaged in, I guarantee you, has involved allies, partners, coaches, guides. It is not alone. Yes, you have to put in the effort, but no, it's not all alone. The do-it-yourself, DIY, is a beautiful mythology. Let's presume that I'm going to add a room or extend the living room in the house. This is just a pure supposition. This is not a commitment to my wife about anything. But let's presume I did that. And so I go to Home Depot, the bastion of do-it-yourself, and I buy the hammer, and I buy the nails, and I buy the lumber, and I buy the drywall, and the mud, and the tape, and the paint, and all the good things to build out this extension. And so, am I doing it alone? There are millions of work hours that went into designing, developing, building, shipping, transporting, marketing, selling, all these tools and supplies. I'm not doing it alone. I didn't build the hammer. I didn't forge the nails. I didn't cut down the trees. Yes, I'm doing parts of it alone, but no, I'm not doing it all by myself. It involves a larger community. And so allies, supporters are critical to keep you energized, because as you go through the transformation, whether it's you as an individual, a community, a society, we're going to run out of steam. But more critically, we're going to run out of faith. And it's the other people with us and around us that keep that alive and re-energize it for us. So we can find it in family, we can find it in supporters, we can find it in professional help, we can find it in the community. There's lots of different ways to find support, but it's critical to find it. So if transformation was just as simple as identifying your purpose, setting up the right practices and structures so you can keep repeating the behaviors necessary for the new reality, and then having the right partners, we'd all do it. It'd be easy, right? But it's not that easy. So what gets in the way of this logical structure and pattern? What gets in the way of it is that we get anxious. We get fearful. Fear is the natural reaction that we're going to have when we're facing uncertainty. And uncertainty is the reality when you step out of the bounds of your comfort zone. To be fearless, folks, is a ridiculous proposition. There is no such thing as fearless. It's wonderful marketing, I get it. It's an awesome way to sell books and drugs and movies and courses, but there is no state for the human condition which is fearless. Fear is a biological reaction. Anxiety is a psychological reaction towards perceived danger. We have to understand how to manage, how to tame, how to name this fear, and not be bound by it. And so the fears that arise are some basic fears, and I want to cover those with you. So as you're thinking about your own transformation, as we think about transforming a community or a society, you are at least aware and you have options and choices. When we go forward and fear raises its head, in fact, it's the reverse of what's driving us forward. Fear is often the reverse of our motives. And what I mean by that is that we're driven, of course, to safety and security. But most of us are not dealing with the saber-toothed tigers, right? We're dealing with fears that are far more emotional and social in nature. And what is it that we really want? We're driven by a desire for control. I'm not even going to ask for a show of hands. Desire for control. Control is our basic impulse to want to be able to influence ourselves, our environment, our relationships, our tasks. That's what we want. We want to control. We're driven by this impulse to connect. Connection, belonging, participation, being loved and loving another person or persons. It's a driver of the human condition that moves us forward. As a matter of fact, infants, when they're born, have been shown that if they don't receive enough contact, human contact, their development is impaired, they're more likely to be ill, and there have actually been recorded cases of infant death from lack of contact. Connection is that critical to the human condition. And so we also want to be able to express ourselves. Expression means that I can bring my talents, my skills, my abilities, and display them, press them out of me, so that you can see it, so that ultimately I can be heard, I can be seen, I can be known. It's an incredibly powerful drive. The fears that we have that arise in the face of this movement away from the comfort zone into transformation, into change, awakens from these very basic elements that drive us forward. The desire for control yields a fear of failure. The desire for connection yields a fear of rejection. The desire for expression yields the fear of humiliation. So when we are afraid of failure, we're really afraid of being powerless, unable to do and accomplish what we want to do and accomplish. We are drawn into this idea that failure is not an option. How many of you have had that on a cup in your office? We actually have two. I'm going to throw them away. I don't believe that. Failure is not only an option, it's a requisite. To say failure is not an option is true on a fatal level. In other words, if this is going to kill you, well, probably don't do it. But most of us are not flying in Apollo 13 back to Earth. Most of us are conducting ourselves in day-to-day, ordinary ways, trying to expand our comfort zone. Failure is not only an option, it's a requisite, because if you're not failing, you haven't stepped out of your comfort zone, you're not changing, and transformation is done. There is no transformation. Failure is an option, it's a necessity. The fear of rejection, as a matter of fact, social rejection has been mapped. fMRI studies, when they watch the brain actually behaving in real time, researchers have identified that when someone is in social rejection mode, the same brain regions are activated as physical pain and threat of extinction, the possibility of death. Social rejection is very powerful. What we're really afraid of is that we are not going to be loved. The human urge, the need to love and be loved is that powerful. And again, if you set out on a journey of change, if you're going to do things differently, if you're going to transform, change something significantly, you're probably going to lose some of the friendships and relationships you have. You will form new ones, and you will be rejected by some of the people around you. And so that fear can really stymie the journey into transformation. And the third fear that dances around for us is the fear of humiliation. What a powerful tool to just reject someone. And not only reject them, but humiliate them. And humiliation really is the fear that we're worth less, that we are unworthy, unvalued, insignificant. And if you go away from your familiar, if you try something new and different, your value, your talents, your skills, your abilities, they become less effective than they were. If you remember a time when you were promoted at work, for example, and I'm sure some of you, all of you have been promoted. When you get promoted, the day after your promotion, you are in effect incompetent. Congratulations. And for that, you get more money. You're incompetent because your strengths, your abilities and talents were right for one level, they're different for the next level. And the fear of humiliation of being worthless is an incredibly limiting fear. And so it is that on this journey of transformation, there's a method. There's the purpose, why are you going forward, and what does it look like when it's all done? There's a practice, which says what are the things, what are the actions, what are the behaviors and patterns that are going to be established as a person, as a group, as a team, as a community. And then there's the partners. Who is going to support you? Because not only do we lose steam, we lose faith, we need to be filled with courage, and our partners, our allies, encourage us. They fill us back with courage. And you might have heard that it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most adaptive to change. It's an interesting notion to take away. The change and transformation is not only desirable, it is the most effective way to evolve. And it's not just about evolving and growing as a person or as a community, but at a basic level, change and willingly going into transformation for yourself is the way that you discover and uncover yourself and ultimately bring forth the sweetness and the totality of your own human spirit. Thank you very much.